Good day to each and everyone. Once again, this is your professor, Orlino Di Rabago Jr. I created this video recording for our asynchronous teaching and learning. And this is intended for week 1, lesson 1, which is the nature of philosophy. More so, this is in connection with the module I shared to you the other day. Hence, kindly prepare your paper and pen so that you can jot down important ideas that can help you totally understand the ideas in this lesson. Hence, you can easily answer the questions at the end of your module. Without further ado, let me begin. Typically, students of this course should understand first the meaning of philosophy. Take note that our course is under philosophy. So, by getting the full understanding of the idea of philosophy, the concept of philosophy, we can easily understand what the course is all about. Okay? So let's do it one at a time. So here the term philosophy was coined by Pythagoras, sages of ancient Greece. He noted that there are three types of men: a lover of pleasure, a lover of success, and a lover of wisdom. And he stated that the last one is the one that is the highest amongst mentioned. More so, it covers the very aspect of human knowledge. So when you say very aspect of human knowledge, it covers almost everything within us being human beings. Next, a step-by-step inquiry into the principles and presuppositions of any field of study. Philosophy encompasses almost everything, if not all. Since philosophy is based on knowledge, based on wisdom, hence all aspects must be considered part of philosophy. Then science of all things by their first causes, as known in light of reason. So everything that is happening around us can be based on reason. Why do we exist? What is the reality of life? Why do we need to study? Why do we need to do our roles in the society? Why do we need to eat? Right? So what is the purpose of life? These are the things that can be considered the knowledge within philosophy. There are elements in this particular definition or the idea in philosophy. So philosophy as a science, or philosophy is a science. The word science comes from the Latin scire, which means to know. It's not just any kind of knowledge or atypical knowledge. It is a scientific knowledge of causes of things. So it means that philosophy must have the application of scientific methodology, getting the factual information by observations and experimentations. We can come up with the best possible solution or answer to that particular thing. Though we commonly say that philosophy is just pure knowledge, but the outcomes of philosophy from that particular knowledge become part of the development of human being. Okay, for example, the idea of human genetics, right? That philosophy of human genetics. And because of that idea, human beings were able to create DNA fingerprinting, right? That we use to solve crimes, that we use to determine whether you are the true blood of this person, right? There are some people who use that in court and able for them to prove that this particular kid is not his or her son or daughter. So that is the meaning of philosophy is a science. From that particular idea or knowledge and the use of scientific approach, we came up with the practical application of that knowledge. Then number two, philosophy is the science of things. Of things. Try to remember that. Meaning it encompasses everything. I said if not all. It discusses about the things that are found in the existential world, or it deals with concrete, real, contingent things. So the one we can see here on earth, right? Even the divine intervention, even the one we cannot see. Sometimes we apply philosophy, but since we talk about science, so we talk about the one that is existential, the one that is concrete and real. Because when we apply religion in philosophy, so we don't talk anymore science there. We talk about theology, right? Or the divine intervention. Number three, philosophy by their ultimate principles and causes. So principles and causes. It studies the ultimate principle of the differences of material things. This is the reason that why, as we become knowledgeable, we try to identify things and we can make comparison and contrast of these things. Okay? Because we are trying to use the idea of philosophy. For example, in the case of the pandemic, right? We try to sometimes use that idea enable for us to get the ultimate principle. Why do these things, or why do this particular thing is happening, and the causes that it can make to us, right? And what differences that it can do to other people. So we try to broaden our explanation to this particular element. Then number four, philosophy as known in light of reason. It uses the light of reason, which is metaphorically expressed and in the objective manner, meaning it is the principle of natural cognition. So there are a lot of approaches in terms of thinking, in terms of reasoning. So one can be in metaphorical approach, like the one we commonly hear when President Duterte used terms and his advisors would say to us it's like a metaphor, right? So somewhat like trying to use a particular object in in relation with that particular idea or person or thing. Then when we say objective manner, we apply again the scientific approach, because objective meaning we based the reason on factual things or factual information. Next, what is the importance of philosophy? They said that philosophy, and even I mentioned this last time or during the first meeting that philosophy has no value because there is no output, a tangible output, the output that we can touch, we can feel. However, if we're going to look at the indirect, okay, the indirect impact, the indirect outcome of philosophy, we can say it's too great. Example, philosophy serves as a guide to all the things that we do, to all the fields that we have, able for us to develop a particular field. For example, psychology, we're going to ask questions, right? We are going to create reasons. We are going to make explanations and even arguments that are part of philosophy. In addition, it is also a tool to begin other things. That's the reason why we keep on creating various fields, new fields. Before, we had no computer science courses, right? The computer programming. We didn't have that before. And even the IT courses, we didn't have that before. But because of philosophy, of the understanding that we are trying to progress and technology is also progressing, then what particular field or science that we can add to the current ones that can help us attain that technological advancement. And that's the reason why we came up with new fields, with new sciences, because we want to solve that problem. Okay? Next, a bridge that connects two or more ideas. Okay? So if you're going to look at the foundation of various fields of study, because of the idea of philosophy, we came up with variations, connections, right? For example, in management, business administration, we start with management. Then we have marketing management, right? So by connecting the two ideas or more, we can come up with sub ideas that we are getting benefits from, right? Aside from that, try to look at the innovations that are happening nowadays. Those combinations of ideas, right? The use of technology, the use of media. So combining the IT, the computer system, with journalism, so two ideas, the computer system, the IT, plus the media or the communication for journalism, let's say, we combine them, then we can come up with this one, the YouTube channel, right? The Facebook. So we have this particular combination. So we can easily view news, information, and other things that can help us learn using the computer. So combination of the computer science thing or the IT and journalism in a way. And there are a lot more. If you're going to search of the fields or science that came from two or more ideas because of our philosophical inquiry. Then last one is a mirror that gives lifetime reflection. So maybe you're wondering, what is the meaning of this? Basically, during the time of the great minds, during the time of Aristotle, Plato, Pythagoras, they asked several questions. And until now, we also ask those questions. Like, where do we come from? We still ask that. Is there God who can protect us from evil? So these are same questions that we commonly encounter in everyday life, particularly if someone lost a relative. So we ask about the power of God. So same thing happened before. And we ask why human beings do exist. What is our purpose? And even, I said, even philosophers are wondering because philosophy is innate in us. It is us, actually. When we started to learn from the tabula rasa, empty mind, when we started to learn, that started the foundation of our philosophy in life. And we keep on using that philosophy all throughout, except, of course, those kids without yet the formal knowledge about things, right? The kids sometimes they just go out wearing nothing, so still they don't comprehend what is the reality, what are the norms to follow or things to follow in the society. But once this individual becomes knowledgeable on things, on the situations around us, then that will be the start of the action of philosophy from that point until we die. Okay, from the time we are going to, of course, depart from this world, still we ask questions, and this is based on research. Those dying individuals, they still ask why it's early, why am I dying, that they want to extend their life. Is there a cure? For example, they acquired a particular disease, so is there a cure for me to extend my life? So that's part of philosophy. See, from the moment you acquire the knowledge until your last breath, philosophy will be part of us. So it's a mirror, like we're trying to keep on looking at that idea or knowledge of philosophy, and you use that every minute of the day, actually. Then again, this is the point, value of philosophy. Like what I said, the value is somehow not tangible, right? You cannot easily touch that. But that indirect value of it, from that pure knowledge to the practical application. So that is somehow very important. And we need to praise that value of philosophy. Without that, then how can we start things? Because it is somewhat like a starter. Just like when you run a vehicle, you need that starter, right? You need that spark plug enable for you to start the vehicle. So without that, the vehicle will not run. Same thing in the case of philosophy. Without that foundation of knowledge, and then how can we start other fields, right? So here in the first bullet, we can say it satisfies intellectual and spiritual needs, the needs of the mind. So we commonly say that human beings have several aspects to be considered a human being because it needs several aspects to become one. So we have the mental aspect, right? We learn, we grow through learning. We have the physical aspect. So we do sports, we exercise, we move. It's part of the physical. And then we have the emotional because we feel, right? Through our relationship, we learn through socialization, right? And we also have this particular thing of interpersonal socialization. So aside from having your emotion, so we socialize. So relationships with others, that is part of our being a human being. And then, of course, we have the spiritual aspect, right? So if you're going to look at the aspects of human being, these things make up the human beings. They said if you don't have one, and then you are not complete. It's true because even you look at the people living under communism, they don't believe in God. So we're talking about philosophy of uh, theology, right? The theology thing, the theology field. But still, the concept of communism is the one they follow. It's not about God, but that is their philosophy in life. So meaning, if I believe in God, that's my philosophy, that God created us all. So if you're a communist, you don't believe in God. You believe in other idea. So it's the same. Okay, though it's not called an spiritual aspect, but it is still an aspect that needs the comprehension using your mind. Okay, same thing in the spiritual, right? It is your belief, right? Using your mind that I know God is here with us. So, the needs of the mind. Next, an indirect value through its effects upon the lives of those who study philosophy. So, what's the meaning of that one? So, indirect value, like what I said a while ago, the knowledge or the idea that started this to the practical application. For example, the atomic theory to nuclear weapons. For example, the one I mentioned a while ago, human genetics to DNA fingerprinting. The idea of time and motion to the manufacturing process, the application of robotics. So these are the things that we can say the indirect values of philosophy. Now, also there are branches of philosophy. So metaphysics is study of reality. There. So it talks about, is there a reality really? Is this a reality? The one that we are doing now, is this really the reality? What if this is just a simulation? In other planets, that's the reality. They are just putting human beings here to test whether life is good or not. And then when they found out it is not good, they can eliminate those bad ones, and then they will apply it in that particular world. So somewhat like vague in a way to comprehend. But that is metaphysics. The study of reality, reality within our own, what do you call one? Our own understanding, because we are human beings on Earth. We are not from other planets, right? Maybe if you're going to just try to think of it, if you, for example, came from the other planet, and then all of a sudden, boom, you ended up here on Earth, then you will ask, is this a reality? Why is different, right? You will be asking that question. Why people eat like this? Why do animals do like this? Because you did not encounter that in your reality. So that's why we have to understand that. I said it's quite vague, but the point of philosophy is that you need to use your mind at least to analyze, to reason out why it's happening. Then number two, epistemology is study of knowledge, right? So knowledge of what? Because There are a lot of ideas nowadays. Since time immemorial, we are trying to study knowledge, right? We study about, of course, first us human beings. Why do we have two hands, not three, to make it easier, right? Why do we have these fingers, five, five, 10? Why not make only four? So this is knowledge, right? The human anatomy. So we study that knowledge. So there are things that we keep on studying, and that is part of epistemology, understanding or trying to develop our knowledge. Then ethics, study of the morality of human act. That's why some people question that. Who created that? Who created the law that we can consider part of morality, right? For example, here in the Philippines, if someone sees you wearing nothing, wearing only G-string, they will say you are bastos, right? You are immoral. But how about people in the Amazon, right? Some of them don't wear anything. They, probably they just wear G-string or bahag or just tapal, but no one questioned them. For them, it's not immoral. That's why we can ask, who created that policy or that law about that thing to be considered one's action immoral? See? That's why we have the ethics. So we study morality of human act based on the existing system, based on the existing law or norm of that society. Okay? Because every society, every country, of course, we have different kinds of law, right? We have different kinds of policy that for them it's immoral and unethical, but for us, it's not. Another example, for the Filipinos, it's okay to sing and dance in front of other people, even to wear somewhat like short attire, meaning quite short, somewhat like out of garment attire. But for the people in the Middle East, that is immoral, that is haram. We call it haram or bad, unacceptable. So it is now based on the cultural awareness, right? The cultural acceptance, and partly, of course, the religion. Because the Middle East people, they follow the Sharia law. And in their Quran, it clearly stated about the proper attire when you face other people. Next, cosmology, science of the universe. There, we ask also some questions about the universe, not only within our planet, okay? Of course, outside, because we see stars at night, right? So we ask the vastness of the universe. Is it infinite, or that particular black area is the boundary? So until now, we keep on asking that question because until now, our scientists, our specialists, those people were studying cosmology, those people who are into studying the universe, they don't have yet the tool or the vehicle to answer that question. That's why they keep on searching for the right answer. Next, theodicy deals with existence, nature, attributes of God, and God's divinity. There you go. Now, this is part of another field, which is the one that maybe we cannot see, but others said we can feel. I experienced like miracles there that my father survived of that particular accident, and then you believe that that is the hand of God. So it is another field that deals with, of course, that deals with knowledge, deals with reasoning. Okay. Then number 6, social philosophy. So social philosophy. So this is about the sociology, which is part of knowledge. But sociology nowadays is science, right? So social philosophy deals with a philosophical study of a society. Remember, philosophical study of a society, meaning we might not see here the scientific approach. Because like what I said, during the time of the American, the first, somewhat like the first year of the Americans in our country, we followed the philosophical way of understanding sociology or the study of society. Only during the 1950s that we were able to accept that sociology should be considered science because we are after to sound solutions. So if you want to get sound solutions, then you need to have factual information, observations and experimentations. Because we talk about social philosophy, so you are just somewhat like giving out your reasons, yeah, purely reasoning, purely giving your arguments, right? Opinions, and then that cannot stand in terms of giving the factuality of a particular situation in the society. But when you apply science behind that, for example, why do people keep on breaking the law despite of warnings, right, from the government? For example, the warning label that you can find in the pack of cigarette. Why is that people keep on smoking if they can see the warning there? So what's the reason behind that? So if you're going to apply the social philosophy, so you are just making assumptions. You are just making opinions. Maybe because they want to, or maybe because of the taste of the cigarette. That's why, if, despite of the warnings, they still continue using it. But science or scientific approach is different. So there is like a research or an investigation to happen, an experimentation, observation. They are going to ask smokers about the reason why they keep on smoking despite of the warning. So when they gather that factual information, the answers of the smokers, and then they can come up with a sound solution to that one. Unlike in the philosophical approach. Again, aesthetics deals with the sense of beauty and harmony. There, that is part of our art appreciation. So because of the aesthetics. So we commonly say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? The sense of beauty. So that is just somewhat like subjective in a way. But we can make it objective by looking at the quality, right? By looking at the methods used in that particular art, by looking at the material used in that particular art, then we can judge it is beautiful. So that is being objective, rather than because you like it, because you preferred it, then you will say it's beautiful. So that is somehow the idea behind this aesthetics. So you can make it objective, you can make it subjective. It's up to your own approach. Okay, then of course our course, logic, study of correct reasoning and art of arguing. Of course, let's include the critical thinking. This is higher than logic because logic is just a tool for critical thinking. The video I shared to you last time, right? You were able to identify the difference or the differences between logic and critical thinking, because I said logic is the study of correct reasoning and art of arguing, while critical thinking is using logic in able to come up with the best possible arguments, with the best possible solutions. So when we talk about critical thinking, it applies as well the scientific method, right? It applies a process to come up with the best possible result. Unlike logic, you just reason out, you just argue, but that's it. That's the limitation of logic. That's why before, when I was in college, it was just logic without the critical thinking part. So my course was logic. So there, that's it. But when they realized that, wait, yes, it is an art of arguing, but what are the factors or aspects that we can consider that this particular argument or reasoning will be acceptable philosophically and scientifically? So that comes now the critical thinking. Now, for the assessment, it is in your module. So all you have to do is to read the scanned copies of lesson 1. I shared that in the Google Classroom. You can see it there. And this assessment will be like exercise 1 to exercise 4, if I'm not mistaken. So there are questions here to answer. So we have this first part, first exercise, which is reflection writing. The other one is modified true or false. Then third, discussion. And the fourth is multiple choices. So combination of objective and subjective. Objective meaning the answers are given, meaning you have to pick the right answer. So direct, objective. When we say subjective, it's opinionated based on your critical thinking or based on your analysis. So I hope that I gave you enough understanding, enough ideas for you to understand this lesson, our lesson 1, the nature of philosophy. And for this, I hope that you can answer properly the subjective exercises here, like this one, right? And also the first one. Example, what are some insights that you have learned from the topic being discussed? So your insights, so it's opinionated based on what you learned, based on what you probably heard, okay, or saw. Then how can the insights help you improve your personality? So it depends. That's why subjective. It depends on what kind of personality you have in relation with the ideas presented here a while ago. Okay? So that will be all. This is part of our asynchronous teaching learning. And of course, keep on studying, do your part, do your responsibility, enable for you to become successful. Stay safe and God bless.